Good afternoon, dear friends. I think you all are fine in your respective places. Hope you are all are doing well. I am here to share with you a thought from the Bible, as I have written in the title. Go to the ants, or consider the life of ants. As we all know, ants are a very tiny creatures in the world. But the Bible is telling about ants as an indicator or of how one should live a wise life. It is written in Proverbs. Yes, in Proverbs chapter 6, verse 6, when we read it. It says like this: Go to the ant, thou sluggard. Consider her ways and be wise. The following verses tells the reason why you should go to the ants, which having no gate, overseer or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. So when you look into the book of Proverbs, it is a collection of sayings of ancient people lived in Israel. And this book is, of course, which is attributed to Solomon. It also contains a lot of sayings by wise men, and also the writings of also the sayings of Solomon. And Bible contains different types of literature. It contains prophetical writings, it contains poetical writings, it contains wisdom or knowledge. And when we read Proverbs and all the writings of Solomon, it is mainly wisdom. And this book, Proverbs, is rich with such kind of knowledge, how to live a wise life and how to live wisely in our day-to-day life, in our relationships, in our transactions. All these things are mentioned in the Proverbs. It contains great amount of wisdom. And this particular verse also is very interesting. uh, you know, ants are very little creatures, tiny creatures, but this particular verse tells that you should consider these ants. When you look into the habitat or how these creatures live, we have a lot of things to learn from that. First of all, the look at the way it marches. It has no leaders. There is no one to lead them, but they are marching in a very decent way. Someone is commenting. Welcome. So, and the most important point is that which having no gate, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. Actually, this ant has no leaders, or it is led by none, but they all go together, and their uniformity is especially noted. Welcome, Sohail Malik and Ayub Bro. Welcome to the live. So when you think about these ants and the way it lives, we have a lot of things to learn from that. It has no gate, it has no overseer or ruler, but it marches in very decently in a uniform way. So that discipline, that is very important thing. When the science advances, we found how these creatures communicate each other. They segregate a hormone from there, and there is pheromones, and it communicates with that. But it has that inherent knowledge in it. That is a point. Who gave that inherent knowledge in the ants to march in that uniform way? So that is a God-given gift to that creature. And another important thing is that it always stores food. That's the main thing here is mentioned here. In 8th verse says, provideth her meat in the summer and gathereth her food in the harvest. Look at that. It already gathers food for the next season to avoid a starvation of the next season. It always stores the food. And who gave that knowledge to these little creatures? That inherent knowledge is definitely from God. So wisdom is a very important part in our life. Even the little ant has a great amount of importance, great deal of importance with the wisdom, God-given wisdom in his life. And just like that, we human beings also need divine wisdom in our life to survive in this planet, to survive in this world. What we need to understand, what we need to learn from this Bible verse, or what we need to learn from the life of ants. As I already read, it stores the food for the next season. So when we live in this world, when we have time, when we have opportunities, we should be able to use it appropriately. We should be able to use it uh, fully, because that will be useful, that will be beneficial for us in the future. That is what we need, we understand from this passage when we read this particular verse. It gathers food in the harvest, because in the harvest there is plenty of food. So it always stores that food, so it can live another season. It can survive another season. So that's it. Survival technique or skill for these ants. When we look into that, it is a very tiny creature, but it has a skill. It is using a skill to survive its existence. So just like that, we should be able to learn a lesson from that particular creature in our life. What is the lesson that we need to learn? That is what we are going to discuss this afternoon. When you look into the Bible is not just a book which only deals about the day-to-day life of human beings, but rather than that, Bible always gives a message about the afterlife of human beings. It always talks about what is next, or what will happen after the life of human beings, after the earthly life of human beings. Bible tells about the human soul. It tells about the immortality of human souls. So when you interpret this particular verse, or when you try to understand the spiritual meaning of this particular verse, what we understand is that we need to have a as this ant stores up its food, we should have a special care about our spiritual life. We should think about our eternity when we live on this earth. And is very skillful about how it can store up its food for the next season. Just like that, as human beings, we should be able to think about, we should be able to consider about or care about the life which is coming after this earthly living. There is a connection of this. That's the spiritual meaning and connection of this verse. So when you are living a life here, you may think that this life ends just like all other creatures or animals in this world or in this earth. But is it like that for human beings? We have a special way of cognition, we have a special way of morality, and all these things indicates that human beings are not just creatures like any other creature on this earth. Because the Bible teaches that as human beings, as the masterpiece of God's creation, God has created everything, every creatures on this earth, and God considered them as good. But when you look into the Bible, we see that God creates human beings in His own image. So, human beings carries a special signature from the Creator God. And that is the soul of God. We all have a soul which is eternal, which is timeless. So when you live on this planet Earth, you have to think about this particular topic. We have to be alert. We should consider about where we spend our eternity. That is what the Bible is asking. In the Garden of Eden, God gave a free will to human beings. God has given a free will. God has never created human beings as something like a robot. Human beings are not programmed like a robot. The greatest thing is that we have a free will to choose what we need to continue or in our life. So when you live in this planet, this is a place where you need to select, you need to choose where you belong in the eternity. So we need to consider about our spiritual life. When you read Matthew, this is an important verse. Passage, yeah. When you read Matthew, 25th chapter, we see there are 10 virgins. 25th chapter, it starts like this. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. The 5 of them were wise, and the 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them. But the wise took oil in their vessels and with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. At midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. This is a very, uh, thought-provoking passage, and it talks about the coming of the Lord. It talks about the coming of the Lord. It indicates the coming of the Lord's second coming. And as we all see, when the world is entering into a new world order, God always had a plan for sustaining this humanity. When you look into the Bible, I'm talking in the perspective of Bible. When you look into the Genesis, we see 8 people have gone through the waters. They entered into the ark of Noah, and with the result that they have overcome the flood. They have overcome the flood, and a new humanity is formed through them. Just like that, when you look into the people, those who traveled from Egypt and they came to the land of Canaan, that God has promised them. God has promised all these Israelites, those who came from, means all these people who came from Egypt, the slavitude of Egypt. They came redeemed by this Moses. They all came from Egypt, and they traveled to Canaan. God was with them. They saw every signs and wonders. They experienced the care of God. They experienced the love of God. Everything they have experienced. But a few have entered into the promised land. Even Moses couldn't enter into the promised land because he was disobedient in his actions. So that's a very serious issue. When you read Corinthians, the first book of Corinthians, chapter 10, we see the Apostle Paul is warning about these particular incidents. So just like that, as we lead our Christian life. When the world is getting into a new world order, God always chooses a few people to enter into that place, a few people. So just like that, when you look into our surroundings, when you look into the world and the things which are happening around us, what we understand is that what the Bible says is absolutely true. And the signs of the coming of the Lord is more vivid these days. So are we prepared for the coming of the Lord? That is the main point. So this passage, along with what we have read from the Proverbs, but we understand that we need to have a preparation for the Lord's coming because it's a very urgent thing. Here we see 10 virgins, and 5 of them were wise and 5 of them were foolish. These foolish people didn't take the oil with them, or they were not serious. That's why they missed the point. And the wise people, they were very serious about the coming of the bridegroom, and they took the oil with them, so they could enter into the meet him. They could meet him, and they could enter into the room. Yeah. So what we understand is that this oil represents our seriousness and our readiness for the coming of the Lord. Are we prepared, or are we ready tonight? When we think about this particular passage, we should consider, we should rethink about ourselves. I am a Christian, I am leading a Christian life, but am I serious enough? If I am not serious about my Christian life, then I may not be able to meet the Lord. I may not be able to meet the bridegroom, as the 5 foolish people have missed their golden opportunity to be with the bridegroom. We shouldn't miss that opportunity in our life. All the incidents that we see around this planet, let it be about the life of human beings, let it be about the planet Earth, we see all the signs and wonders, all the signs that which is written in the text is being fulfilled. So it's a great time of alert for us, and there's only a little time left. Along with this, I would like to share a vision that I have seen about the coming of the Lord. I was actually preaching about a fulfilled promise, a fulfilled sign about the coming of the Lord in our church. And after the church meeting, I came back to my home and I was sleeping. I was just sleeping after my lunch, and I saw a vision. In that vision, I saw 2 people were in conversation. They are having a convo. They are looking at each other. One of them is a dear friend of mine. He's a very serious Christian, and he has a very close relationship with the Lord. I know him personally. He is sitting there, and I saw another person is sitting on the other side. They are having a convo, and suddenly, I saw a graphical representation, or I saw not a graphical representation, but a video on the screen, just like we see in the television, just like an LED. I saw a vision. I saw some planets are revolving. I am seeing a video, and it says that in that vision, it says that these planets, the motions of these planets, or the rotations and the revolutions of these planets, has a mathematical calculation with the time of Israel, with the history of Israel. That is what it says. But that is a very hard to understand. That calculation is very obscure. It's very hard to understand. But then I was looking into that person who is sitting next to my friend, and that person just looked at me and smiled. I was asking in my mind, what is the meaning, or what is this calculation? Can you just define it to me? And that person just looked at me and he smiled. And he was like wearing a white robe and a very beautiful, pleasant, very sweet face, looking at me and smiling. I think that is none other than our Lord. And what I understand from that video is that it says that only a little time left. Only a little time left. That's a big, huge mathematical calculation was going on. But what I understand is that only a little time left. And then I feel the pain in myself that when someone is missed out, and in my heart I feel like it is the only hope, it is a last hope for humanity. If you miss that chance, then humanity doesn't have another hope. So that's a very important thing. So when we live as Christians, we have great obligation and responsibility to share this good news to those who live around us. You may not consider it as very serious, but even in our small talk, we should share these things to our neighbors, to those who live around us, to those who are unbelievers. Otherwise, we will regret one day that we couldn't share this big news, the coming of the Lord, to even our neighbors. Maybe in our family also, there are a lot of people, those who have not come to this truth. We have a responsibility to go and tell them about this incident which is about to come. So when you look into the life of ants, we see that it's already stores up its food. And it's just like that. When we live a life on this planet, we should think about the eternal life that we are going to face after our life, after our earthly life. So that is what I want to share with you this afternoon. So we need to give importance and enough seriousness to our life. I think some of our friends commented on this. God bless you. Thank you for coming back again.